Today is Tuesday, and I have picked up this thing, and I will have a timer on today so that I might know, about when I need to stop this video. But I was at a conference, as you know, this last week, and I met Anthony Buzzard and Carlos and some others that were there. I feel, like it's all right to mention their names. They had a great part in the conference. And I intend to make good on promises. Because if you don't, make good on a promise, then it's not real good. But I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and we were discussing how did we get from believing, the truth to believing a lie. And it's quite obvious that we believed a lie after hearing it. And the thing about, you never know what you are hearing, if it's a lie or if it's the truth. Now, I really enjoy a history book. I really do. And my history book begins with the words, "In the beginning, God." That's how it begins. Now, this history book has some information in it. And some people, think this book is God. Some people think that every word in that book is God. And the devil will make you or lead you to believe that book is God. And if you can't find something in that book, then you haven't found out what God wanted you to know. Well, I don't have one of those books, in front of me now. But I do have my history book in the house that you see behind me. The wind is blowing today, and as you can see, the sun is shining on me. It's just according to, how I am positioned here. And since I am watching this, as the wind blows my hair, I can see what I look like. And I didn't rehearse this, so I'm not following any notes, and I won't be reading from my history book. But I did talk earlier today with a friend of mine who was working in his yard. And this is the gist of the story. There was a time, years ago, when a man was baptized in the river by a relative. And when this man was baptized in this river by a relative, they saw something happen that day. And a voice was heard saying, "This is my beloved Son, with whom or in whom I am well pleased." I really don't know how you read it, but God was pleased with his Son and where he was that day. Now, Jesus was God's Son's name. And Jesus went from there into the wilderness for 40 days, where if you read the history book, you will find out that he became very hungry. And he wanted something to eat, and that's when the devil Satan tempted him to turn some stones into bread. Now, Satan must, not be real sharp, because it said that he asked Jesus, if you are the Son of God, do this. Now, Jesus was in the wilderness, and he came out, and if you read the history book, he went to a wedding. And at the wedding, they were drunk, and they had drank a lot of wine. And it's not good to run out of wine at a wedding, so Mary, in all of her wisdom, told some people that they needed to do whatever Jesus, instructed them to do, not knowing that that Jesus would tell them to go fill the pots with water and serve it as wine. But he did, and they went and got some water in the pots, and the water did turn to wine. Now, Jesus never touched the water, and there's no, indication that he touched the pots. But if you read the history book, you will find out that Jesus did enjoy drinking wine. And he drank wine with his friends, I am sure. And I'm sure he drank wine at this wedding. I mean, why would he not drink wine at this wedding? There was no reason for him not to. Now, John, who had baptized Jesus, he had drank no wine. But because John drank no wine, definitely did not mean Jesus would drink no wine. And Jesus, I am sure, drank some wine with his disciples, because he had some wine at the last meal that he ate with his disciples. And he had some bread there too. And you can find out all this stuff by, looking in the history book. The history book has all kind of information in it. And you can find out what the devil did, way back yonder in the garden. And you can find out what God did after Noah built the boat. And you can find out how God anointed or called a man named Moses over to a burning bush, or set a bush began to, be on fire, but it wasn't consumed. And God talked to Moses and told Moses some things, and Moses took off his shoes. Anyway, Moses wound up doing what God wanted him to do, and an amazingly large number of people came out of Egypt with all kind of things that they could carry. I mean, they brought out some stuff. They had gold, they had silver, they had whatever was of value in all of Egypt. These people with Moses were carrying it. And they were carrying it out through the wilderness, and they were headed for a mountain, because there was the place that Moses had been instructed to go. Now, Moses got to that mountain. And when Moses went up on that mountain, he stayed for 40 days. And the people had heard God's voice again. Or that was the first time that they had heard God's voice. Moses had heard God's voice. But at this time, all of the people there heard God's voice. Now later, many years later, Moses had mentioned that another prophet, God would raise up one. God would raise up a prophet from amongst the people, and they should heed that prophet. That's amazing to me how people can get the idea. I got to shut this down pretty quick. It's letting me know that if I go much longer, I'll have to make 2, and I don't want to do that. So Moses was told that God would raise up a prophet like him from amongst the people, and nowhere in the history of a prophet prophesying or saying anything does a man or does God leave heaven to become a man. It just doesn't happen. And God didn't become a man, folks, but he did have a son. And he was born, and he grew to be a man. Now this man that they crucified on the cross will return and will be sent from heaven one more time. He came from heaven and told his disciples about all authority in heaven and on earth, was granted unto him, and told them some things. And we just haven't seen him here yet to perform what he's going to perform on the earth. But it won't be long, folks. It won't be long. It will be probably some days from now. But you don't have to worry about, is it going to happen? Because it's going to happen. Just as sure as I'm sitting in this chair, under this tree, hearing the wind and seeing it move the leaves. Thank you.